All right, guys. All right. So ready, ready, ready. If I'm audible, just type yes in the chat box if you can hear me. If I'm audible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. All right, so let's get excited to start today. All right. So I hope all of you can see me. Hello, hi. Excited to see you in today's session. I know that today is unexpected. Suddenly you call for a meeting because we have some special event today happening where I have my friend Val with me. So all of you type welcome Val in the chat box. All of you type welcome Val in the chat box. Let's welcome Val. There is something special today. Sorry for the music, it's still playing. Okay, so I'll tell you how we connected with Val. It was so Val, if you're there, just switch in the video a little bit. I'll just spotlight you also. Yeah, can you see me? All of you can. Am I audible and visible? Just type AV in the chat box if you can see me. If everything is all right, just type AV in the chat box. Yes, thank you. Okay, sorry. I just have to make you the co-host. Give me a second. Yes. So there you go. Yes, glad to meet Val. There's something special connection we made. First time I think we met last year, right, Val? That was during we met in Mahabalipuram. I think you can unmute yourself. And it was when I met first time, I could see something. This guy is different. Right? He's not like any other person. Everybody is like and this guy is different. The way he was connecting, he was talking. Everything was something different. And he belonged to a place. He'll talk more about that. He's now in Dehradun, if I'm not wrong. All correct. And there is something around the place you stay, the kind of atmosphere, the kind of people around. I mean, there is something happened. After that, we made good friendships and we connected with each other. Though we had a lot of our own things to take care. I'm into weight loss, he's into something else. But there's always a time when we connect. We try to connect in December, if I remember. I told Val, why don't you come to our community? We'll have some discussion because recently what I found is a lot of people, who are coming to our program and they have a lot of problems in terms of the relationship with the family and otherwise. So I thought this is something I'm not an expert. I'm not a great in my luckily my relation has been always super. So I never had to work on that. So but somebody has really worked on that. He has already figured it out and he has also helped people to do things. I thought, man, this is something great opportunity because this is something a very important part of your life. If your relationship is fine, everything is sorted. I can do 90%, 99% of things are sorted. How many agree that if your family and you, everything is together, you are one power? You agree? Just type agree in the chat box. If you and your family are together, everything is sorted. But there is something happens, because of sudden challenges here and there. So that is where Val is here. So he'll not only talk about relations, he'll talk about many other factors which are really, really important for well-being of our life. So I'll not take a lot of time, Val. So I know you have a lot of things to share. And I'm sure that today's session is going to be mind-boggling because you're going to hear from somebody who has been there and done that. Not only that, he has helped hundreds of people and thousands of people to come out of their challenges and live a life of significance. So all of you get ready, get excited. There is something big is coming up. I know today is weekend. A lot of people are joining back, but I'm sure that Val's session is going to be powerful. Okay, so over to you, Val. I think you're muted.
Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Thank you so much. Let me just give it a try. Yeah, I can share my screen. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Jagan, for introducing me. If I'm loud and clear, write hi in the chat box. If I'm loud and clear, write hi in the chat box. Let me see what the people saying hi. Awesome. Good to have you, Rekha, Enlas, Saijin, forgive me for my mispronunciation. Somdatta, Shashikala, who else is here? Kaushal, good to have you, Kaushal. Kester, good to have you. Thank you so much for being here, Kester. All right. So, how many of you are married out here? Write me in the chat box. If you're not married yet, write S, write S in the chat box. Not married yet. Single, ready to mingle. Kester, you're single, ready to mingle. Awesome. Enla, Kaushal, Sejin, Samanvita, Asha, all married. Awesome. My question is this. How many of you want to have the most amazing marriage with the person you're married to? Just write I in the chat box. If you are somebody, maybe your marriage is going great. You want it to be even better, even better. And let me ask you one more question. How many of you don't want to have a great marriage? Is there anybody like that? Just write me in the chat box, and that's also fine. That's absolutely fine. I can see a lot of the eyes. Thank you so much. So, thank you once again for being here. And my name is Valerian Sequeira, and thank you for being here. And as I start this session, I want to acknowledge you and appreciate you for being here. As Jagan mentioned, he said that it is out of the ordinary. I guess you don't have a session on a Saturday, and suddenly you have a session today, and you have made it a point to be here. So I want to acknowledge you and appreciate you for being here. And in this session, in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to do my best to give you the best in the next 30 minutes. And what are you going to learn today? I'm going to keep it really simple. Basically, three things. One, I'm going to teach you that no matter what happens in the marriage, there is nothing wrong with the marriage. And that is going to blow your mind. You might say that, but in some marriages, the husband is having an affair and you're saying there is nothing wrong. Yes, there is nothing wrong. You might tell me that, in some marriages, the man is beating up the woman and you're saying nothing wrong. Yes, nothing wrong. There are some marriages where the in-laws are interfering. You're saying nothing wrong. Yes, nothing wrong. That is the first thing that I'm going to teach. The second thing I'm going to teach is what is that one thing that destroys all marriages? What is that one thing? And the third thing I'm going to teach you is the 3-step strategy to create an awesome marriage. No matter where you are, probably you're living in the same house, and when you go to bed tonight, you will be on one end of the bed and your partner will be on the other. Probably you have decided that it's too dangerous to sleep on two ends of the bed. Might as well sleep on separate beds, and you're sleeping on 2 separate bedrooms. Probably there would be somebody who's going through a separation out here. Probably you are thinking about contemplating on divorce. Whatever, wherever you are, the 3 things that I'm going to teach you will give you a whole new perspective. How many of you are super excited? Write SE in the chat box. Let me see what those people who are super excited. Super excited. And as I start this journey talking about it, is it okay, gentlemen? Thank you so much for writing that. Is it okay if I lay down one ground rule? If it is a yes, write GR in the chat box. GR is ground rule. Because if I don't set this ground rule, you will not get anything out of this session. Thank you. The ground rule is this. Our mind is like this container. If there is dirty water in this container, no matter how much clean water I put into this container, the water will still be dirty. Today, I'm going to put new water into this container, the mind. The new way of looking at your marriage, the new way of looking at your spouse, the new way of understanding why things are going wrong the way they are doing. And whatever I'm going to share is going to shake you. It is going to make you feel uncomfortable. And when that happens, my question is, do you have the courage to just keep your mind open? take in everything and contemplate on it. Not to reject it, not to accept it, but contemplate. Do you have the courage? If it is a yes, write yes in the chat box, because whatever I'm going to share is going to disturb you. Because probably for the first time, in many of your cases, I'm going to say that you are a wonderful human being. Probably for the first time, you're going to hear me saying with logic that your husband, no matter how bad he is, according to you, your wife, no matter how horrible she is, according to you, is an amazing person. Amazing person. Awesome. I can see so many yeses. So before I start sharing these things, is it okay if I quickly share my journey and why am I doing what I'm doing? That is okay with you. Just write IWTK in the chat box. IWTK is I want to know. I want to know. So my journey, basically, the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because of this picture. I'm sure many of you would have seen pictures of yourselves, or you have seen Jagan, fat Jagan and a fit Jagan, and little bit plumpy Uma and fit Uma. And this is our journey. Before what you see in the first picture, after what you see in the second picture. Just to give you a background, I've been in the field of coaching, education, counseling for a long time. And when I got married, I knew my wife for 12 years before I got married. What about your marriage? Love marriage, arranged marriage? If it is a love, write L in the chat box. If it is arranged, write A in the chat box. If it is love, write L, otherwise write arranged. I can see so many arrange, love, arrange, love. Awesome. And interestingly, generally people have one wedding with one person. We had 3 weddings with the same person. So this was our first wedding according to the Hindu customs and traditions. She was wearing a sari, I put a sindoor on her forehead. And then we got married again in the church according to Christian customs and traditions. And then we got married in the court. When our marriage was over, our marriage was awesome. There was a lot of love, there was a lot of connection, there was a lot of understanding. And I'm sure that some of you remember these days. For some of you, it would have been very short. For some of you, it would lasted for a few months. And then for some of you, it ended on the day of the marriage. But no matter where it was, you remember those good old days. So our marriage was like this. But slowly, what happened in our marriage was we started fighting. We started arguing. We started feeling that there is nothing happening in our relationship. I started keeping quiet. She started keeping quiet, and came to a point one evening, Pallavi came to me and she was angry and she said to me that I don't want to be with you. And it shocked me. How can this be possible? We had been in love for 12 years. We got married because we wanted to get married. And now why is this happening? And that is the point where I started learning relationship science. And as I started learning relationship science, I realized that having a great marriage is not very difficult. The only reason why people don't have a great marriage is because we are not taught how to have a great marriage. We're not taught. We learn physics, we learn biology, we learn everything, but not how to have a great marriage. And it is as simple. Marriage is it's a tragedy as simple as this. Imagine that you want to buy an aeroplane and you go out, you look for a partner, and together you buy an aeroplane. And on the day of flying this aeroplane, you call a lot of people, you give them a big meal, you click photographs with them. These people who have come for the inauguration of this, starting of this, this private jet, they give you gifts. And then at the end of the day, they put you inside the cockpit and tell you, okay, tomorrow onwards, you got to fly. What do you think is going to happen? Most probably it's going to crash. Not because you're bad, not because your partner is bad. It is because you haven't a clue. And that is where I started learning relationship science. And when I started learning relationship science, everything transformed in our marriage. We were just like what you see in the first picture. We moved to what you see in the second picture. Right now, interestingly, as I speak to you right now, my wife is 10,000 kilometers from Dehradun. She has just landed in Canada. She's going to do a master's. And so just landed in Canada. And she's going to start our master's. And I've just applied for my visa to join up. So just keep us in your prayers, as right now we are sort of, 10,000 miles apart, and with a longing to join again. So just keep us in your prayers. So that's what my journey had been. And how did I learn? What happened? What was that relationship science that I kept telling you about? It was, I did a lot of research. I'm not going to dive deep into the research, but I'm going to talk about one person whose work has made a great impact on my life. And this man, his name is John Gottman. And John Gottman started studying relationships about 40, 50 years ago. And he had a very interesting way of doing it. So what did he do? He created something called a love lab. So he had a love lab, and he would invite couples to come and stay there over a weekend. And they were told that they are going to be part of an experiment. And once this couple would stay, and every interaction of theirs would be recorded through a CCTV camera. So once this couple would leave, you would watch that recording hours after hours after hours, try to figure out why some couples really connect, really stay together. Why some couples separate, end up with a divorce, fights, arguments. Why does this happen? And then he figured out a pattern. He became so good that he can watch 8 minutes of a record of a couple interacting with each other, and then he could predict whether this couple will be together after 5 years or not. And 94% of the time he was accurate. Now, are you ready for the mind-boggling next part of this experiment? In the next part of this experiment, what he did was he invited couples. The couples came, they stayed, they went back. Then he started watching 8 minutes of their recording without any sound. So he didn't know. He didn't know why they were fighting about, what was the problem in their marriage, or whether there is an affair, whether there is an interference, nothing. He just looked at their behavior. And then he predicted whether that couple will be together after 5 years or not. And 94% of the time, he was accurate. How many of you think that is amazing? Right? Amazing in the chat box. Just looking at somebody's behavior, you can predict whether this couple will be great or not in the next 5 years. Now, based on that, he divided couples into 2 categories. And the first category, he called them as masters. The second category, he called them as disasters. In other words, in simple words, if you're a master husband, if you're a master wife, your marriage is going to be awesome. But if you're a disaster husband, if you're going to be a disaster wife, your marriage will be horrible. But at this juncture, you might say that, but what about my husband? Doesn't he have to be a master husband? The answer is, your husband is your reflection. Your husband is a reflection. And I'm going to talk in depth as we go along. Right now, let me ask you a question. The question is this: what are some of the problems men face in their marriage? Write in the chat box. And if you're writing the answer, write M and write the answer. If you're a woman, then I want you to write in the chat box, what are some of the problems women or wives face in their marriage? Let's have a discussion. Start. If you're a man, write M dash and the problem. If you're a woman, W dash and the problem. What are some of the problems? What are some of the problems? Understanding. That means the husband doesn't understand me. Thank you. That's one of the biggest problems the women face. The husband doesn't understand me. Thank you, Gitanjali, for answering that. Let's hear others. Thank you. The husband is less caring. Thank you, Enla. Ego. The husband has a big ego, so the wife can't handle the situation. The husband doesn't talk properly. I'm not talking about your marriage, Somdatta. I'm talking about the problems women face. You would know your friends, right? Having problems. So what are the problems? Communication. Thank you. High expectations. Thank you, Kester. Pravina is misunderstanding. Gitanjali, expecting wife to adjust to husband's family. Big problem. Bhavna, less, I think you're writing in less communication. The husband is not communicating. The time, not giving time. The interests don't match. Nothing much in common. Thank you, Kushbu. Samanvita is saying lack of motivation to stay fit together and egoistic sometimes. Thank you, Samanvita. Rajeshri is saying ego, trust, communication, not knowing the love language. Thank you, Rajeshri. Kushbu is saying getting attracted outside and then slowly getting into an affair. Insecurities of the man. Man is insecure. Thank you, Rupal. Gitanjali, only thinking from their part. The husband is only thinking from his perspective, doesn't want to understand the other person's perspective. Less time as expected. Thank you, Deepika. Good one. Anything else? You're giving some brilliant answers. Let's get into learning. Thank you so much. Can I ask you to write RTL in the chat box? RTL is ready to learn. Ready to learn. Ready to learn. High stress, no matching wavelengths. Now, what happens is, thank you. Always on the phone. Thank you, Praveen. Now, what happens is this. When people face these problems, they try to fix the problem. And the problem doesn't get fixed. They get out of the marriage thinking that that is the problem because of which they're getting separated or that they're getting divorced. In other words, they feel that this man doesn't want to change. This woman doesn't want to change. And I am going to find somebody who will be different from this man. If this man is mama's boy, I'm going to find somebody who is not a mama's boy. This woman is always talking to her parents. I'm going to find somebody who doesn't talk to her parents, probably who doesn't have parents alive. Because that is the problem. And that's what people do. And guess what? This is a shocking fact. How many of you are ready for a shocking fact? Just write me in the chat box. If you're ready for a shocking fact. The shocking fact is this. This is the divorce rate in the US. In India, the divorce rate is much less. Much, much less. But what I'm interested in is not the divorce rate. What I'm interested in is the pattern. This is the pattern across the globe. The divorce rate for the first marriage is 45 to 50%. This is in the US. In India, it's less. But look at the divorce rate for the second marriage. It is 60 to 67%. Look at the divorce rate for the third marriage. It is 70 to 73%. Now, that is shocking, right? How can this be possible? In the first marriage, you married the wrong person. In the second marriage, how can you marry the wrong person again? Okay, in the second marriage also, so you married the wrong person. How can you marry the third person in the third marriage? How can you marry the third person? Now, why is this happening? The reason why this is happening is because all the problems people talk about are not the problems. They are symptoms of one single problem that you will have, whether you marry once, twice, 3 times, or 5 times. Whether you marry within your religion, outside your religion. Whether you marry somebody from your own educational background or different educational background. Whether you marry somebody who doesn't have parents or who has parents. There's one single problem you got to learn to solve. And how many of you would like to know this one single problem? Because if you learn this one single problem, all the other things will evaporate. So what is the one single problem? In order to understand this one single problem, you got to understand the stages of marriage. Your marriage is supposed to go through 3 stages. The first stage of your marriage, anybody knows? Take a guess. What is the first stage of marriage? The thing that you do immediately after the marriage. What is that called? Not the first night. Pravina is just jumping into fighting. No, honeymoon, correct? Honeymoon, absolutely. So the first stage of your marriage is called romance stage. The second stage of your marriage is called the power struggle. The third stage of your marriage is called mature love or deep friendship. Let's look at each of them. The first one is the romance stage. Now, a lot of people, believe that and feel that they had a romance stage. For some people, it was for a week. For some people, it was a month. For some people, it was 1 year. Some people say for the first 3 years, everything was fine. And some people say, even before our marriage, we started fighting. Now, here is the most important part. No matter who you get married, no matter how many times you get married, whether you marry within your religion, outside your religion, whether you check your kundalis or a horoscope, you don't check your kundalis or your horoscope, you do any permutation combination, your romance stage is going to end. And when your romance stage ends, you get into something called the power struggle stage. And the power struggle stage is very interesting. I'm going to go deeper into this. But before that, let me tell you this. In power struggle stage, as you see in the image, people start fighting. There is no communication. There is no love. There is no time. The man is always on the phone. The woman is having an affair. The man is having an affair. The in-laws interfere. All the problems you spoke about happen at power struggle stage. And here is the bitter truth. 7 out of 10 marriages across the globe never cross the power struggle stage, or they live in power struggle stage most of the time. Most of the time. They never move into something called a mature love stage or deep friendship. Do you want a proof of this? There are at least, how many of you know at least one couple? I'm not talking about you, but at least one couple who is married for 20 years, 30 years. Even today, they are fighting. You ask a man, tell me something good about your wife. He says, about her, nothing. You ask the woman, tell me something good about your husband. Oh God, he's a pain in the wrong places. There's nothing good about him. And this is true. Look at all the jokes that we have. Majority of the jokes about marriage are negative, where husband and wife are fighting, because most people's experience of their marriage is power struggle stage. Look at the sayings. Shadi, complete it for me. What is shadi? Shadi, barbadi. शादी का लड्डू जो खाएगा वो भी पछताएगा, जो नहीं खाएगा वो भी पछताएगा, because most people's experience of their marriage is power struggle. And most people either compromise in their marriage, say to themselves, अरे क्या कर सकते हैं अभी? Children are very small. What can we do? She will never change. He will never change. Wait till they grow up. Maybe after that. And then they live a miserable life. And the worst part about marriage is this, ladies and gentlemen. With health, we go out in the open and we seek help. When it comes to marriage, we hide it. And it comes to a point where after years, 10 years, 14 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, people go out for separation or divorce. Separation or divorce. That is the tragedy. And having worked with thousands and thousands of men, people, helping them to create, having a community called Awesome Husband Sub, I know that you don't have to suffer. I know that your marriage doesn't have to be a miserable one. I know that you deserve to have a great marriage. So all these people, there are many, many photographs that I have of people that I've worked with. And my goal and my mission is not to fix their marriage. My mission is to help people to move from power struggle to mature love. How many of you want to have that kind of amazing relationship with your spouse? Write me in the chat box. A relationship where you do not have to fight. A relationship where you have great emotional connection. A relationship where there is so much of communication. When you go to bed at night, your partner is holding you tight. When you have problems, your partner is there on your side. You do not have to cry in the bathroom on some nights because your partner is not there for you. You can communicate. How many of you would like to have that? Just write me in the chat box. And that's what I'm going to teach you in the next 10 minutes that I have. So I can see many of you writing in. So I want everybody to write me in the chat box and start making notes. In the next 10 minutes that I have, before we get into Q&A, I'm going to teach you very, very simple stuff. Very simple stuff. And the first part that I'm going to teach you is the 3 mistakes men and women make when they get into power struggle stage, which doesn't allow them to move out of power struggle stage and move into mature love stage. Now, before I teach you this, let me talk about why the power struggle stage happens, why the love dies in the marriage. The reason why the love dies is because for something stronger to grow, something has to die. Let me give you an example from nature. Let's say I have a rose plant. I cut a small branch and I take that branch and plant it in a different place. What do you think will happen to that rose plant? Is it suddenly grow, or there is something else happens before it grows? Write in the chat box. What do you think happens? I got a rose plant, cut the small branch, take the branch and plant it somewhere else. And in the first 2 days, what happens to that branch? Exactly. Thank you, Pravina. All the old leaves wither. Now, the same with our marriage. The romance stage is like that, those leaves. It has to wear off for the new leaves to come. How many of you have children out here? Just write me in the chat box. How many of you have children? At what age does the child starts losing their milk teeth? At what age it starts? At what age does it start? 7 years? 9, 10? And when that starts, do you get panicky? That, oh God, my son is losing his teeth. What's going to happen? He'll look like an old man. Do you get panicky? No, right? Why you don't get panicky? Because you know the new teeth will come back. But when we get married, there's nobody who teaches us that this romance stage is supposed to end for the new mature love stage to start. And because of that, because there is no education, because nobody has taught us, the first thing that happens to us is we get into a panic. Your husband comes home late, you get into a panic. Oh God, he can't come on time and he's going to behave like that. And then what's going to happen in the future? Your husband is talking to his parents and he is not supporting you. You get into a panic. Am I making sense to you? You feel that, oh God, what's going to happen in the future? If you're a husband and your wife says no to sex, you get into a panic. Now, this is something that happens to all of us and we don't even realize it. And it is called primal panic. And when we get into a primal panic, there's something interesting happens. And that is, I'll put it in 2 parts. Relationships work on the second principle of Newton. What is the second principle of Newton? Every action has equal and opposite reaction. If you are seeing things that are not going right in your marriage, is a reaction to your action. Your husband has become mama's boy, is a reaction to your action. Your wife is having an affair, is a reaction to your action. Listen to the second part, very, very important, very, very carefully. The second part is this. Your brain and my brain cannot see our own action. It only sees our partner's reaction. No matter how much you try. If I ask you, what is the problem in your marriage? You will be able to tell me everything that is wrong with your spouse. He is doing this, she is doing that. He is doing this, she is doing that. But what are you doing? I don't know. I'm being loving, I'm being caring, I'm being understanding, I'm there for him, I cook for him, I fend for him, fend for her. I do everything because our brain hides our mistakes. So what happens to us when we get into a power struggle stage is we are not able to see where we are going wrong because our brain is wired that way. And when this happens, we make these worst mistakes in our marriage. The first mistake that we make when we get into this power struggle stage is The first one is loving. Why is it a mistake? The mistake is loving a partner the way we want to be loved. Let me say that again. The first mistake to make is to love our partner the way we want to be loved. Would you like to have an example? I'll give you an example. Let's assume that I am a person who likes the house to be clean. So I get up at 5 o'clock, I clean the house, I clean the bathroom, I clean the bedroom, I fold the clothes, I do this, I clean the kitchen, I do everything. It doesn't matter whether I'm a man or a woman. And then my husband gets up at 8 o'clock and he doesn't even say thank you to me. And I get all upset because I did all this for him. You're telling a lie to yourself. You didn't do it for him. You did it for yourself. Remember, I told you that whatever I'm going to share with you is going to make you uncomfortable. This is what it is. In our program, inside our program, we teach people to understand how the other person wants to be loved. Give you one more example. Just give me one moment. A dog wants to say something. Just give me a moment. All right, he's back. He's here. All right. So I'll give you one more example. I'm a husband who loves traveling. So what do I tell my wife? Let's go to this place. Let's go to that place. Let's have a good time. And my wife says, no, I don't want to come. And I get all upset about it because I'm thinking that I'm making my wife feel loved. It is actually, I want it that way. So the first mistake we make is to love our partner the way we want to be loved. So the second mistake that we make is trying to fix. In a marriage, there is something called one person is a pursuer and the other person is a withdrawer. It means that check in your marriage. There's one person is always trying to come closer, trying to tell the other person, you got to change this way. Why are you doing this? How many times have I told you? The clothes have to be kept like this. The bucket has to be kept like this. Why are you leaving the towel on the bed? And then, so the one person goes on like this. What does the other person do? The other person withdraws. The other person starts talking less and less and less and less. This is the second mistake. The third mistake people make is taking the other person for granted. Along with it, the other mistake people make is to allowing the other person to take them for granted. Because marriage, for most of us, is like a government job. Once you get married, our brain gets into that thought process that harm. And it generally happens to men that, okay, now she's not going to leave me. Now she's not going to leave me. And then we get busy with our target. Then we get busy with reaching the next milestone, the next promotion, the next car, the next house. So taking for granted. The fourth mistake that we make is, this is one of the biggest mistakes, asking for advice from people who are also stuck in power struggle stage. You go to your best friend who is married for 15 years, and for the last 13 years, she has been having a miserable marriage in a marriage, and you go and ask that person, please help me what to do. And the first thing she's going to say is all men are dogs. Because that's the experience she is having with her husband. And with that advice, you come home, and when you left the home, you felt like you were looking at your husband. Now you're looking at a dog. Sorry for using this language, and that's what happens. You go to your best friend who is married for 20 years, and his marriage is not going great, and his wife is always criticizing him, and he's not happy, and you ask him for advice. What happens? Blind leading the blind. When people join our community, when I do one-to-ones with people, I don't give advice. I do not give advice. Advice doesn't work. I teach relationship science. I know that you have a problem, but I can do two things. One, I can solve your problem, or I can teach you how to solve. If I solve your problem, that problem will come back. But if I teach you how to solve, you can solve hundreds of problems. So I give formula to people to solve their problems. So the next mistake is asking for advice. And the last one is a victim mindset. What is a victim mindset? And this is a big one. as long as you feel that the other person needs to change, you're in a victim mindset. In a victim mindset, you feel that I'm doing so much for this relationship. My husband doesn't love me. My husband doesn't care about me. My wife is always like this. I'm doing so much for this relationship. I want you to bring your ears closer to me and listen to this very carefully. I know that if you are stuck in power struggle stage, you are hurt. And the people who are hurt others. People who are hurt others. So if you're hurt right now, unless you are a saint, you're hurting your spouse. And it is a loop. And then he is hurt and he is hurting you. Many a times in a relationship, the hurt begins, many a times, not always, hurt begins unconsciously. Many a times the husband doesn't even realize that his wife is there at home. He has to reach home. He's busy at his work because unconsciously. And the wife gets hurt. She tries to beg. She tries to tell him. He doesn't want to change. She's trying to fix him. Doesn't want to change. And then the loop starts. So these are the 5 mistakes. The last part that I want to teach you, and then we'll have a Q&A, is this. These 5 things, these 3 things are going to shift your life. The first one is to get out of the victim mindset. Get out of the victim mindset. And if you're a man, how many men are there out here? Just write me in the chat box. Just write me in the chat box. If you're a man. Only 1 man, 2 men. Awesome. I'm going to give you a bonus tip. So I don't want to reveal the secret right now. So the first thing is to get out of the victim mindset. And the way to, and basically victim mindset is, I am doing so much for this relationship, but my husband, but my wife, he doesn't want to understand. And if you're a man, you have to become a hero. And if you're a woman, you've got to become a queen. I'll give you a bonus tip later, but you got to become a queen. And how do you become a hero? The way to become a hero is to, this is the powerful exercise. Before you go to bed tonight, if you're really hurt by your spouse, for whatever happened, I want you to keep 1 more chair in front of you. And imagine that your spouse is sitting there. It's the imagination. Don't ask your spouse to sit there, just imagine. And then you have a conversation. Let's say during your pregnancy, for women, your husband was not there. He was busy at meetings. I want you to sit there and have a conversation and tell him, how did you feel? Ask him at the end, why did you do it? And once you have done that, sit in his place and start answering the question. Answering the questions that you have asked. And do it like a queen. If you're a man and you're hurt by your spouse for some incident that happened, your wife insulted your parents. Tonight, put a chair in front of you, sit there, imagine that your wife is sitting there and have a conversation. Ask her, why did you insult my parents? And then go to her side and think like her and answer the question. If you do this very diligently, your life is going to change. You will move from power struggle to mature love. You're going to move from being a victim. You're going to be a person who is filled with empathy. From moving from being a person who is miserable, angry, irritated, to a loving, caring person. The second thing you got to realize is this. And this is the biggest realization I ever had. I might be a coach. I might be working with thousands of people. I might have helped the worst case scenarios. People who were fighting a divorce case for 5 years and there was no love, there was no connection. And today they are living together. Not only they're living together, they have got a baby. People who were separated, there were cases filed against them. And today they're living together. I might have done all these things for others, but I'm a jerk to live with. It is not very easy to live with me. How many of you know this? If you know it, IK in the chat box. write IK in the chat box. That is I know. If you don't know it, write DK in the chat box. This was my biggest realization. It is not very easy to live with me. Not very easy. My brain, most of the time, doesn't tell me that. My brain, most of the time, tells me that, oh, it's so easy to live with me. I'm so considerate. I'm so adjusting. I'm so compromising. I'm like this. I'm like that. But the truth is, not easy to live with me. I can be a great boss, but not easy to live with me. Living in the same house is very different from being a boss. Not easy to live with me. So this is the first one. It will help you to get out of the victim mindset. The next one is having master behaviors. What did John Gottman realize about the people who had miserable marriages was this: they did not appreciate, show gratitude, apologize, request in their marriage, and go to the other side in their marriage. If you see a marriage where the couple is not appreciating each other, showing gratitude to each other, it is heading towards disaster. It is heading towards disaster. So in your marriage, how much appreciation is there? How much gratitude is there? Or are you somebody like one of my students years ago told me this? She was married for 30 years and she told me this: my husband is working in the office. That's his duty. Why should I say thank you to him? The worst thing, worst advice that you have ever got in your life about friendship and relationships is this: there is no thank you and there is no sorry in the relationship. Worst advice. If I appreciation, gratitude, apology, request, and going to the other side is like pouring water and manure into a plant, that is marriage. If you're not doing that, slowly you will notice that your marriage is dead. Marriage is dead. You might say that I have nothing to appreciate my spouse for. If you're saying that, then you're blinded. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. You'll see it. When you appreciate your spouse, years ago, I was working with this lady. And as I was working with her, there is an exercise that I give. It's a very rigorous exercise. For 2 months, you have to do certain things. And one of them is to appreciate and show gratitude. And she used to find it very difficult initially. Like, I have nothing to show gratitude, nothing to appreciate. And she started doing that. And my husband also doesn't do it. She started doing that. And after some time, 3 months later, her parents had come over. And she gave a cup of chai to her husband. And the husband turned around and said to her, "Thank you so much." And her father looked at him and said, "What the hell is wrong with this guy? Like, why is he saying thank you?" That is the power that you have. And the last thing that I want to share with you is you got to learn relationship science. It is the most amazing science that you can ever learn. And this evening, I'm going to help you to begin this journey. I'm going to give you something free to start this journey. I'm going to give you a course to start this journey. So I got, do I have 10 minutes for Q&A? And then I'll give you, in between, I'll give you the course. So Jagan, do I have 10 minutes for Q&A?
Definitely. No questions. 1 second. My video is there. I don't know. Anyway, you can see.
Let me just stop sharing. Yeah.
No problem. So guys, how is going on? Anybody is, have Q&A? Yeah, we have got Q&A time. Yeah, definitely. Yes. A lot of Q&A. Please put your queries. Anybody wants any queries? Please put in the chat box. Mind boggling. Thank you.
How many of you are learning? Super. Beautiful. Yeah. And if you know this, gentlemen and ladies, the marriage is going to be awesome.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter who you marry. It doesn't matter. I'm a Mangalorean, by the way. I'm a Mangalorean from down south. I eat coconut oil in my cooking. My wife is from Meghalaya. She's a Bengali. She eats mustard oil in her cooking. I speak Konkani at home. She speaks Bengali at home. She's a wildlife conservationist. I work with people. She works with animals. So yeah. So ask me the questions, and meanwhile, I'm going to give you. How many of you would like ask me the question in the Q&A section? Okay, ask me the question in the Q&A section. And as you're asking me questions, how many of you feel that either you have a problem with anger? Thank you, Kushbu. You already mentioned it. Or your husband or wife has a problem with anger. How many of you feel that way? Just write me in the chat box. Either you don't know how to manage your anger, or your husband or wife doesn't know how to manage their anger. How many of you feel that way? Your husband doesn't know. Okay. Just write me in the chat box, or write my husband or my wife. And you're trying to control, you're counting from 10 to 1, nothing is happening. You have told, if your husband doesn't have doesn't have the ability to control his anger, you have told him 101 times, control karo. Why are you, why are you doing this? Why can't you manage your anger? I get that. How many of you would like to get a course on managing anger? Just write I in the chat box. Of course, I'm going to give you 3 gifts. I'm going to give you 3 special gifts right now for the next 10 minutes. The first gift is an ebook on managing anger. I'm going to teach you inside that book that why anger is always good. The second thing that I'm going to give you is an anger style quiz. How many of you think that you don't get angry? Write me in the chat box. You think that you don't get angry. Your husband gets angry, but you don't get angry. Anybody who's there? नहीं यार, मुझे तो गुस्सा नहीं आता. Now, for all those of you who feel this way, there are 5. All of us get angry, but there are 5 ways we show anger. It's called anger style. There are some people become aggressive. There are some people who implode, where they are called silent imploders. There are some people who are called self-punishers. There are some people who are called habitual displacers. How many of you would like to know what is your anger style is? And how many of you would like to get very precise advice on managing your anger based on your anger style? That's the second gift that I have. The second gift is I'm going to give you a quiz to find out what is your anger style. And the last gift that I'm going to give you is a 6-day challenge on managing anger. If you're super excited, all those of you are super excited, here is a gift. So I'm going to show you first, and then I'll give you the gift, and then I'll answer the questions. So first, let me show you. This gift. Let me share my screen. Okay. Now, the value of this gift is 3,999 rupees. It has 3 things. The first thing is the quiz. The second thing is the ebook, and the third thing is challenge. You're not going to pay that. Okay. You are going to pay. Let me just open it on. You're not going to pay that. It's going to be free. So how do you get it free? Let me show it to you. Just give me one moment. Just a moment, gentlemen and ladies. Okay. Let me show you how to get this free gift. Okay. So it is 3,999. It's absolutely free. How do you get it free? Enter your name, enter your email ID, enter your phone number, enter your gender. Write it as man or woman, husband or wife. And then the coupon code is free. All right. Enter this free out here. Click apply. Coupon code is applied. And now you proceed to pay. All right. You're not going to pay anything. You're going to get this course. Is that cool? Right? Cool in the chat box. That is cool. Just write cool in the chat box. That's cool. Awesome. Beautiful. Perfect. So here is the link. It is HTTPS. So let me give you the link. And you can ask the questions in the Q&A section. And while I'm answering the questions over there, you can get the book. So I'm going to, for the time being, I'm going to stop the chat. You can ask me the questions in the Q&A. And you can grab this book. The code is free. All right. The code is free. FREE. Here we go. Please go ahead, click on that, enter your details, and grab that course. Let me start answering the questions. You can't see me. I hope you are able to see me now. Okay. How to get rid of the past character blame, which has no sense. How to change that wrong subconscious belief. I don't understand the question. Okay. I don't understand the question. If you can either unmute yourself, that will be also great, or raise your hand and I'll give you control to unmute yourself and I'll answer that question. Any other questions? Go to the Q&A and ask me the questions. And meanwhile, as people are asking the question, Jagan, would you like to ask a question? If you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll answer it. Yeah, Somdatta, you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask the question? You can unmute yourself and you can ask me a question. Do you have a question? Doesn't look like. All right.
Hello?
Yes, yes. Hi, Somdatta. Somadatta. Did I get your name right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a question, Somdatta, that you would like me to answer?
Actually, it's amazing.
Sorry.
And it's no question, sir. Thank you. And it's more interesting.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you.
I'm a student of law of attraction, and this is more interesting for me.
Wonderful. 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 Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I saw you being extremely active. Really appreciate you. If you want to give that gift to anybody else as well, you can give that gift. It is written coachval.co/.
I'll suggest to some of my friends those who have problems.
Lovely. Anybody, you can share it with anybody who has a problem with anger, and then of course relationships. You can do that.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you so much. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ashwini, would you like to ask me a question? Give me a moment. I will allow you to speak. Okay. Yeah. Ashwini, you can ask me a question. Hi, Ashwini.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay. Clear everything.
Everything is clear.
Yes, yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Ashwini. Ashwini. Thank you. Perfect. Anybody else has a question? Go to the Q&A section and you can ask me. And I'll also enable the chat. Yeah. There were one or two questions which were there earlier and I missed it. Let me see if I can answer them. Okay. So here is a question. Even if we are trying to establish a proper connection due to the circumstances in which they grew up, they are unable to understand what the person is trying to convey. How to tackle such a situation? The first thing to understand is that we behave based on where we are. Let me repeat that. We behave based on where we are. Imagine that. Have you seen people throwing garbage on the road? Have you seen people throwing garbage on the road? Like they're going by a vehicle, they take a plastic, chips, wrapper and they throw it out of the window. Have you seen people like that? I've seen, right? And the same people, when they go to the airport and they're sitting down, they're eating a packet of chips. At the end of it, what do they do with the wrapper? Do they put it on the ground? No. They go and put it into the dustbin. Why? The same people. They have grown up in a place where things are thrown outside, but they go to the airport, they don't do it. Why does this happen? Even the murderer, when he walks into a temple, he's joining his hands. In the market, you could have killed somebody, but in the temple, he's joining his hands. What's happening? So the first myth that I want you to get out of is that your spouse is behaving the way he is doing due to the way he is grown up. That's not true. That's not true. That is the lie that your brain is telling you so that you don't change. The reason why he is not reciprocating the way you want him to reciprocate is because of the way you are talking to him. The way you are talking. And in order to understand the way you're talking, you got to understand a little bit about communication. How many of you would like to know a little bit about communication in the next 2 minutes? If you want to know, write yes in the chat box. Little bit about communication. Okay, you are my wife, okay? And listen to two ways I'm communicating. The first way is, Arey yaar, kitni baar bola hai? Like how many times I have told you not to keep that glass over there? Why are you keeping it over there? This is the first way. The second way is love. उस ग्लास को वहां पे मत रखो ना. जब रखने से मुझे अजीब हो जाता है. Can you keep it inside, please? Which one do you like? The first or the second? The first or the second? The second, right? And in most marriages, it is the first. It is the first. And you might tell me, but I have tried this. Yes, you have tried it. It is like, somebody telling me, I have tried talking to my husband very nicely or my wife very nicely in the way I'm showing. But life is like this. Life is like staying fed. If you tell me that, I have tried losing weight and I had been dieting. And now I have put on weight. Why? Because you have stopped dieting. You have stopped eating healthy. So as long as you're eating healthy, you're healthy. When you stop eating healthy, you go back to square one. The next question that I had was, can you please repeat mistake? Let me see. Explain mistake, second mistake. The second mistake is fixing. The second mistake people do in their marriage is they try to fix their partner. So they are going to their friends, they're going to go to their relatives, they go to their parents and ask all these people, I'm sorry for that. They ask all these people, telling them that, please help me to fix that person. That's the biggest mistake, the second mistake people do. Last question that I'm going to answer, and then we are going to close. I have been hurt by my mother-in-law for years, but my husband never sympathized with me or told me he understands me. So I reacted very rudely with him and criticized him. Now I understand my mistake, but he has disconnected with me and says, now we cannot get back to a wholesome relationship. What should I do? The first thing is this. Please forgive yourself. You are a human being and you did not do it intentionally. So the first thing to do is to forgive yourself. The second thing is don't talk about this. Marriage is not like, baat karte karke, like, you cannot, marriage is not, there's only one place in the world or one or two countries in the world where there is arranged marriage. And marriage is not like arranged marriage. It is the relationship, the connection happens first and then the marriage happens. So even in this case, what I invite you to do is don't discuss about this. You have done it once, forget about it. Now you focus on taking care of yourself and being a loving, caring wife to your husband by bringing in appreciation, by bringing in gratitude, by bringing in requests, by bringing in going to his side, making him feel that he matters to you, you are there for him, he's good, right, and wonderful human being. And a few months later, you would notice, and you got to do it consistently, you would notice that you would have forgiven and forgotten about all that. So forget about talking about this, work on being the master in your marriage. Do I have one more minute to answer one question? Jagan, are we good with time?
Yes, yes, I'm okay. Anybody has any queries, you can put, yeah.
Yeah, there is one question, one more question is there. What if there are issues with family members and not the husband? Great question, Bhavna. If there are problems with the family members and not the husband, the mistake, I'll talk about the mistake you can do and then what you need to do. The mistake you can do is blaming your husband for the problem that you have with the family members. And when you blame your husband and you tell him, your mother, your sister, your brother, he feels miserable inside. You have no problem with him. So don't criticize him. Don't put him down. Because when you do that, he feels dejected. He feels that, what did I do? What can I do? And then what happens is, why can't you tell him? You tell him that, why can't you talk to them? Why can't you tell them? Put yourself in his place, right? He's feeling sandwiched between you and between them. So this is the first part not to do. What you need to do is become a team. Share with him. Don't tell him what to do, but share with him what you're feeling. If I was in your place, I would tell him something like, when I go to the kitchen and when I hear mom, not your mother, look at the words I'm using. When I hear mom, that is my mother-in-law, but mom, I'm using the word mom, and she tells me, you're putting too much milk. If don't feel that I'm part of this family. No, I'm not telling you to tell her to fix anything, but I just want you to know and just hold me tight when I feel miserable. You know what he is going to feel? He's going to feel an immense amount of respect towards you. Wow, what a person I have in my life who is going through pain, but who is not putting me down. And you're going to become a team. And when you become a team, even though your mother-in-law or your father-in-law or your in-laws are jerks, you get the strength to face them. You'll also have the strength to tell them because your husband is on your side. So the last question that was asked is this by Bhavna. What if there are issues with family members and not the husband? So become a team. Make him feel so loved because he is on your side, that you have the strength and he has the strength to face this challenge. Awesome. So that's all from my side. I hope you had a great time. In case if you didn't get a chance to get into this free course, please go to coachval.co anger. Okay. What was the last question? The last question was, what do you do if your parents are or the other people have a problem with you? Okay. Thank you so much, Jagan. Hope you had a great time. You learned a lot. Over to you, Jagan.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. How was your time with Val today? All of you had a ball burn moment. Type BO in the chat box. I'm sure that you guys enjoyed today. And anybody else grabbed the gift today? You have grabbed it? Type GG. Grab the gift. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Val. I know this is powerful. So I think it takes a lot of time to understand things, right? So people will go through multiple iterations and obviously they'll work on the marriage and how to make it a better life and relationship in the. Thanks a lot. And those of you who did not get this gift, I missed out. I'll put this link in the group so that they can also grab it. So Val, that link is the one, right? So I just will open that.
coachval.co anger.
Okay. Is there any coupon I have to put? What is the coupon name?
Free. FREE.
Okay, 1 second. Oh, it's going free. Great, super. Thank you, thank you. Thanks a lot, Val. So let's take a picture with Val right now. So Val, thanks a lot. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks a lot. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.